Now, Governor Mills moves to allow asylum seekers to qualify for general assistance. We'll have the details.
Plus, the unique tool state police are using to crack down on distracted drivers before the hands-free law goes into effect.
So you're on Instagram and you're comparing the number of likes you got on a post to the number of likes your best friend Steve got on a post, and Steve got more. What if you couldn't see the number of likes that Steve got? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? We'll talk about it tonight. This is News Center Now.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for being with us. I'm Lindsay Mills.
And I'm Lee Nelson. In the news this Thursday night, Governor Janet Mills announced today that the state's Health and Human Services Department is pursuing changes to the eligibility rules for general assistance. The governor also announced this morning that she asked the federal government to provide financial support to Maine communities and local organizations working to support the asylum seekers that we've done so many stories on. The new Maine general assistance leniency policy is aimed at assisting the hundreds of asylum seekers who have arrived in Portland in recent weeks. The Mills administration said it would also help ease the financial burden faced by Portland and other cities struggling to house and feed and care for all the asylum seekers.
So here's how it works. Non-citizens will be eligible to apply for general assistance as long as they can prove they are taking reasonable good faith steps to apply for asylum with federal officials. Non-citizens are not allowed to apply for work permits until 6 months after submitting an asylum application with the federal government. Portland city officials are temporarily housing about 250 asylum seekers at the Expo. They arrived in the city in recent weeks after fleeing violence and persecution in Central Africa.
Yeah, and the city, as you may know, has received more than $815,000 in donations specifically to help offset those costs and assist just the asylum seekers. You can find much more on this story on our website, mobile app. Coming up in the next 90 minutes, too, we're going to learn more about this issue and about a fundraiser for homeless veterans as well.
Don't you wish days like today you could bottle up the air and then spread it out over the hot days ahead?
Yeah, I wish we could just stop things because summer all of a sudden feels like it's moving very quickly, Keith.
Yeah.
Slow it down, will ya?
It's funny because Paula had the reaction I thought some people would, which is it felt like summer's ending today.
It did.
But it is not. It is like the opposite of that is about to happen. So yeah, you'll look back on today by Sunday afternoon and be like, this was a great day. Dew points in the mid-50s after starting around 50. It was a little bit crisp-ish this morning. Temperature is 70s for the most part, 80 in Freiburg, 80 in Millinocket, but most of us stayed right around our kind of strict average, if you will, for this time of the year. Cloud cover wasn't an issue either. Some quick moving high thin cirrus clouds here over the mid-coast and down east, but the rest of us were sunny through the day, and we're going to be clear overnight. There's more cloudiness to our south, actually a totally different day down across Massachusetts, but all that cloud cover stayed to our south. Hour by hour forecast, again, tonight looks clear. Tomorrow we'll call it partly cloudy through most of the day. There'll be a couple of scattered showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. There won't be all that many of them, though, and temperatures will get into the mid-80s away from the coastline. And more noticeably, the humidity will be back. It will be back into the low 70s for dew points by tomorrow afternoon. And then we start the day on Saturday, which we all know at this point is going to be a hot day. But here's a good sign, guys, that you know it's going to be hot. Look at Sanford at 3 in the morning on Saturday will be 78 degrees. So it doesn't take much, right, from there to get into the mid and upper 90s. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few.
Those are voices of supporters of President Trump chanting, "Send her back, send her back." The chants erupted at a rally last night in North Carolina as the president was talking about the 4 young Democratic congresswomen who've criticized him recently. They call themselves the Squad. And while they are all American citizens and most were born here, Mr. Trump recently suggested they go back to their home countries. Many Democrats and some Republicans are criticizing those chants.
A fire set at an animation studio in Japan has killed 33 people. Fire investigators say 20 of the victims were found at the top floor of the 3-story building. They say it's arson, and there is a suspect who right now is at the hospital with unspecified injuries. Japanese media say the suspect may have set the fire near the front door to cut off the means to escape. Some of the victims were found collapsed on the stairs leading up to the roof.
From Japan to France, the Louvre Museum in Paris is the first major institution to disassociate itself with the Sackler family. This after protest that family's connected to the opioid crisis. The Sackler name was on several signs at the museum's Oriental Antiquities Gallery. They have donated millions of dollars there and to other institutions too, but the signs have all come down. The Sackler family owns Purdue Pharma. The company is facing 2,000 lawsuits alleging it played a major role in creating the opioid crisis.
The U.S. House has approved legislation to raise the federal minimum wage for the first time in a decade to $15 an hour. Democrats pushed through the bill today with a party line vote of 231 to 199. But will it become law? It's unlikely because of the Republican-controlled Senate. Many Republicans say it would cost jobs, and they add states are already able to raise the minimum wage beyond the federal minimum, and many have done so. The federal minimum right now is $7.25 an hour. The bill as it now stands would pay tipped workers the same as other earning the minimum. Right now they're paid $2.13 an hour.
Researchers say some of the deadliest cancers aren't the ones getting as much funding as they need. Researchers from Northwestern University studied the tax records from 119 nonprofit organizations between October of 2017 and February of 2018. Colon, liver, cervical, ovarian, pancreatic, and lung cancers got the least amount of funding. They are some of the most common and most deadly forms of cancer, though. The cancers that received the most amount of funding were breast cancer, leukemia, lymphoma, and pediatric cancers. Scientists say the lack of funding for these certain more common cancers could possibly negatively impact research and drug development down the line.
In some other health news, despite warnings from the FDA, hundreds of pregnant women are still taking a powerful acne medication despite its known risks to the fetus. The drug is Accutane. It's been linked to severe birth defects in pregnant women, even if it's just taken for a short amount of time. The FDA imposed special restrictions back in 2006 and requires women to take a pregnancy test before taking that medicine. Researchers from Boston studied 20 years of government data of pregnancy-related adverse events associated with this drug. They say pregnancies among women taking Accutane peaked in 2006 with nearly 800, but have fallen to 300 a year since 2011.
Maine's law enforcement is cracking down on distracted driving, especially cell phone use behind the wheel. The state's hands-free law takes effect in September and prevents people from holding and using their phones while they are driving.
Chris Costa is here to explain in the unique way that state police are enforcing the no texting laws already in place.
Lee and Lindsay, state police are looking for instances like these. People texting or watching videos or video chatting while driving. State police took pictures earlier this week as part of a nationwide effort called Operation Safe Driver. It's put on by the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance. And state police are getting a unique and somewhat undercover vantage point to spot violators.
People are using their phones all the time, not watching the road.
Most drivers are on their best behavior when they see a blue state police cruiser on the highway.
And if you're doing something that's illegal in the state of Maine, you're going to run the risk of running into a trooper.
But alongside a semi-truck, drivers may not notice two troopers sitting up high inside the cab.
This Jeep right here is drifting over the fog line right now.
They're looking for telltale signs of distraction.
Driver right beside us right now, you can watch her head's going down. She's looking at her phone. She's manipulating her phone. She has an active text message looking at pictures right now.
So while you're looking down at your phone, troopers are looking down at you. Busted.
50. Got a dark gray Jeep.
The Maine State Police Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Unit looks for more than texting. People not watching the road, not wearing seatbelts, failing to signal, or driving aggressively, all to protect the men and women driving massive trucks and the people around them.
80 or 100,000 pound truck can't stop as quick as a car can. The outcomes are tragic. They have the potential to be.
That's been the rules for a long time.
Truck drivers aren't perfect either, though.
The black cell phone, your control number is 57. Had it in his right hand.
Trooper Jeff DeGroot issues a citation to this truck driver who troopers caught using a phone while driving.
There's a lot of actions out there that we come across and we investigate. The state police investigates that, for all intents and purposes, didn't truly need to happen. But because of a distraction they did, and now somebody's injured.
So penalties are actually steeper for truck drivers because they have to follow federal laws. It's $325 for the first offense for truck drivers and $625 for the second. So this week, police have done 2 of these types of details in southern Maine. On Tuesday, they caught 22 people violating different laws in a span of 4 hours. And then today, 14 violations in the span of just 2 hours. And 4 of those violations were passenger cars. You can see some of those examples here. These are pictures that they took earlier this week. People with their hands on their phone. This person had 2 hands on their phone behind the wheel of a car.
Wow.
Pretty interesting to see the lengths that people will go to, and even in commercial vehicles like that truck in the top right corner, to use their phones while they're driving. And that's what state police are looking for, especially as that hands-free law starts to take place in September. Wayne Lindsay.
Those pictures a wake-up call for sure.
They sure are. Tricky, but super effective. Super effective. That's awesome. Thank you, Chris, very much. Interesting. All right, we got to squeeze in a quick break. Much more coming up. Later, the happiest place on earth might be causing people to think twice about going there.
And we've talked before about Instagram hiding the number of likes on a post, how the social media app is now one step closer to making that happen.
Add something really quick for our
Yeah.
Facebook friends. I get this question a lot anytime we do a story like this. Like we did something similar with the move over, slow down law, with the rollout speed bump in
Yes.
Woolwich, where they, all the drivers slowed down, and there were a lot of people who said, "Oh, it's staged. It's entrapment. You're showing somebody getting pulled over for something, a law, a law being broken." It's actually not entrapment. They've spoken about this with multiple police officers, and you can look up the definition yourself. Entrapment is when a police officer or some law enforcement officer tells you to do something that's illegal, you do it, and then they fine you or arrest you.
Right.
Oh, go buy drugs. Oh, now you're under arrest.
Right.
Yeah.
That's entrapment.
Right.
This is not entrapment because they're literally watching the people who otherwise would be doing this anyway because they don't realize.
People actually thought that this was entrapment?
There have been comments like that on previous posts. So the reason we did the story was because this got so much reaction on social media when they posted it on their Maine State Police Headquarters Facebook and Instagram pages. And so we said, well, let's go for a ride along and see how it goes.
Really interesting.
And there were a lot of people who kind of brought up that argument.
Well, I mean, you could say it's sneaky and it's tricky, but if you're
You'd be
breaking the
doing it
law, you're
anyway.
breaking the law.
That's-
And they're
yeah.
just catching you breaking the law. Yeah, it's
Stinks to get caught, I guess.
Right, stinks to get caught, exactly. Look.
Fred agrees with you. Absolutely, it is not entrapment.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well,
So anyway, but
I
know
mean,
that
they're
that's a lot of
making,
questions
texters
with
are making the roads less safe for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. It's a wake-up call.
Boom.
I think the crazy part is how many commercial vehicles they saw doing this. I mean,
Oh, we're at the monitor, okay.
there was that orange truck that was in my store.
Yeah.
There was that
Yeah.
other one that was more of like a box truck style.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are 80,000, 100,000
Right.
trucks.
Right.
So anyway.
Right.
So crazy. Good
Yeah.
story.
Super interesting, yeah.
Sweet.
So we got just 2 stories here, Instagram and Toys R Us. Comeback?
A baby block. The U.S. House approved a minimum wage increase to $15 an hour, but it has to pass the Senate, which it might not likely
which
happen.
it won't. No.
Yeah. Someone was asking to clarify that story.
Yep.
Instagram is expanding its hiding likes test in several more countries.
Yeah, so the company says the test is looking to focus on the photos and videos you share and not how many likes people are getting, okay? The goal is to make users feel less judged. Currently, Instagrammers can see a running tally of people who have liked a post, any post. However, the trial only shows a liked by username and others, that's a quote, underneath a post, instead of the total number of likes. So users will still be able to see the number of likes their own posts received, okay? And some people didn't understand that part of it. This trial was first launched in Canada, but it's now rolling out in Ireland, in Italy, Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, and Japan as well. Toys R Us is going to be back this holiday season.
The retailer plans to open 2 brick-and-mortar stores in Houston, Texas, and New Jersey this November. The stores are Part of a joint venture between True Kids Brands and a new software startup. An online shopping experience is also expected to follow. The new stores will be smaller in size and toy manufacturers will pay for shelf space. 10 more locations are expected to open around the country in 2020. Outside the U.S., Toys R Us continues to operate about 800 stores. More details are expected to be announced in the coming weeks.
Toys R Us hanging on.
Yeah.
Coming up, Airbnb offering a chance to spend a night in one of the world's most recognizable vehicles.
Interesting. And Keith's forecast is next, and those hot temperatures aren't going away anytime soon. He had to shoo me away. Womp womp. I was really sad. Yeah, I didn't say that, but I implied it with my sigh. It was like,
We have a newsroom shot. We're going to do it at the new
okay, the new wall. Cool.
The new wall.
So we're taking a walk. You know, I'm really not a fan unless it's like baklava. Did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Because no one knows how to actually say it.
Is that in here?
No, but you said it's for the Greek festival, so I assumed. This is it, right here. No?
No.
Yeah, they,
oh, yeah, that is
they
baklava.
checked it like it's there.
Yeah.
Yep, that is it.
There we go. See, I
This is my first package back in.
Sorry about what?
Well, I was supposed to be the lead story, and they bumped me
Oh,
down
oh.
to the end of the A because I couldn't get it done fast enough. You're fired.
Da, da, da. This is interesting. Look at this. Cool.
All right.
Our new graffiti wall. Do you need help with the paper?
We could just do it on your dress.
I know, right?
That's true.
Yeah. This is interesting.
Yeah, I didn't really look at this story, so I'm
I'm curious too.
tracking customers. Of course they are.
I just went to Disneyland this past, well, technically it was last year.
Yeah? I've never been there, the California one, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I've never been there.
We drove by that 42 on Free Street in Temple, and here's Joy. She's being uncooperative, but I don't see any issues with the dial. We lost it, 725 ABL. It's a multi-colored GMC pickup.
Boy, my IFB is so cutting in and out.
Is it? Now you're really far from the server.
Can you give the caller a 31 crash call back and just see where they're at?
We're gonna need
They get off the exit.
Stand by.
It's the happiest place on earth, but some privacy advocates worry something suspicious is happening at the magical world of Disney.
And it sounds like this might be a theme shared at some other big companies around the world as well. Here's a closer look.
A new report claims the House of Mouse is behaving like Big Brother, with Disney tracking its ticket holders and profiting off the info. Let's connect the dots. If you've been to Disney World in the past few years, then you know about the magic bands. They look like a bracelet and act as everything from your ticket to the theme park to your hotel key at the resorts. And while they can simplify things for a frantic family, a new report from Bloomberg says Disney is tracking all that data to make money. Disney says that info lets them create a better experience for you, like shorter lines for rides and a more personalized experience. But Bloomberg says they are also using it to make bigger decisions, like if everyone is excited for the latest Avengers attraction, maybe it's time to make more sequels. While some companies like Facebook or Google have gotten a bad reputation for this kind of data mining, Disney hasn't faced a lot of scrutiny, and business is booming. A reminder that when it comes to your privacy, it's not such a small world, after all. Connecting the dots, I'm Marcelino Benito.
Just one more thing we got to think about.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
One more thing we maybe got to worry about, except that if you're worried about all this stuff, I think it could drive you crazy, right?
Right.
So I don't know. Let's worry about the weather instead. That's easier.
Exactly.
Yeah, footnotes version, your stuff is out there.
Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
that? Let's just call it
Totally.
that. Like the Face app thing yesterday, I had Cam take it on her phone, and I posted the picture. Everyone's like, "But now the Russians have your." I'm like, ah.
Of course, you had somebody else use their phone to take yours.
Right. Yeah. Smart like that. I don't need to download. I'm
not
actually
surprised.
not a fan of like trendy downloads in general.
Sure.
I have a very small amount of apps on my phone. As you know, famously, I recently got the News Center Maine app. That's a good app. I'm just saying, it's a lot better, so that's why I have it now. I didn't have it before. All right.
That got some chuckles
50s
from
for
the
the 2
newsroom.
points. Can we go to the other camera real quick? The guy in the green shirt back there. Can we go? Let's do it. Come on. Come on. There. That's Jeff Schools. He's our digital manager. And poor guy, he knew I didn't have the app. He kept trying to be nice about it. Finally, I got it. All right, let's have a look. Dew points in the 50s right now after a crisp start to the day, but it won't stay that way very long. Temperatures in the 70s, low 80s, and the humidity will be coming back tonight for most of us into early tomorrow morning. Visible satellite is clean. It'll be clear tonight. We actually just dodged a bunch of cloud cover to our south. And the models, if anything, overestimated the amount of cloud cover southern Maine would see. No complaints, I don't think, out of anybody, but it was a little sunnier than anticipated. So overnight tonight, temperatures drop, but by tomorrow the humidity comes back, and we get into the mid-80s in a lot of spots tomorrow afternoon, and the humidity is a factor there and through the day on Saturday and Sunday. There'll be a couple of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. I think most of these will stay in the mountains and foothills, but just a few could sneak to the coastline sometime right before sunset. After that, we're off to the races, and as I mentioned before, look at some of these temperatures in the early morning hours on Saturday. If you start at 75, 76, it doesn't take much to get into the mid-90s, and that's what we'll do during the day on Saturday. 90s are pretty much absolute minimum for most of us, and then again mid-90s through the afternoon, likely a few low 100s not out of the question. And we stay dry until Sunday afternoon. Some showers and thunderstorms come through at that point, which will finally break the heat and the humidity as well. So the dew points here, just look at the colors. That's all you really need to know. By tomorrow afternoon, 70s again on Saturday, and staying humid through the day on Sunday. So we've been talking so much about how warm it's going to be on Saturday, and that's still the case. A lot of us, again, 90 plus. However, kind of a plot twist here. The latest models have Sunday just as warm as Saturday. So now we're into the mid-90s and upper 90s again on Sunday. So this is a 2-day event. It looked like Sunday would be a little bit cooler than that, but it appears that is not going to be the case. It all breaks, though, for Monday. Next week looks pretty good. I don't think it'll be perfect. There'll be an isolated shower in the afternoon, say maybe on Wednesday, but overall good. So again, I think this is just a change in wording, but it's important that I think people were thinking, well, Saturday is going to really be bad. Sunday won't be quite as bad, and now they look kind of equal.
Okay.
So 2 days. 2 days.
Okay, we'll get through it.
Yeah, we will.
It's summer.
Or not.
Yeah.
Or we won't.
Or we won't.
What's your options? Yeah.
Exactly.
My grandmother used to always say that. She's just like, well, I woke up this morning, so there are only 2 options to that. Like, fair enough, Grandma? Yeah.
Pretty grim, pretty grim. Okay, well, the Morning Report just had this fierce debate over condiments for hot dogs.
Oh, okay.
Did you see that by chance? It was for National Hot Dog Day.
Wait, we do a morning show? I didn't know.
Well, this is pretty timely because now you can actually Airbnb the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. This is pretty cool. It has a listing on Airbnb, the home sharing and lodging site, beginning July 24th. Fans will be able to book a one-night stay in the iconic vehicle for August 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. The listing says the Wienermobile is a cozy space for 2, and stays are $136 a night. Apparently this is happening in the Chicago area, but of course it's on wheels, so maybe it could come here.
Is there a shower in there?
I don't think so.
$136, that's kind of cheap, I'd say. This is kind of interesting. The final trailer for It Chapter 2 dropped today, and it is a wild 2.5 minutes of thrilling suspense and gives you a pretty good in-depth peek at what is going to come from the sequel for It, which, by the way, was the highest grossing horror film of all time. So a teaser from May gave us our first look at the reunion of the Losers Club. But fast forward to 27 years. Take a close look at the 1 minute and 55 second mark. You'll see a Paul Bunyan statue. And if it looks familiar, it might be, but it's probably not, because it's not the one in Bangor, it's in Ontario. But the setting is Derry, Maine, which is based off Bangor, a place obviously near and dear to Stephen King's heart. The film hits theaters September the 6th.
All right. I'll mark my calendar.
All right.
A lot more coming up on News Center Maine at 5:30. Cindy's here with a preview. Hey, Cindy.
White dress here.
I know.
Day
We
here
got the
at
memo.
News Center. Yeah. The governor announced this morning that she has asked the federal government to provide financial support to Maine communities and organizations that are working to support asylum seekers in Maine. And the city of Portland is really pleased with that move. We're going to explain what it just might mean for city coffers. And people are sending in their suggestions for a name for this little guy, that albino porcupine who moved in near Kennebunkport Seashore Trolley Museum. And there are some really good ones in the running. That's all I had. And News Center at 5:30. So,
Ooh, can we weigh in on that too?
the albino porcupine got the memo.
I know. I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing.
Clearly.
I was like, yeah,
didn't,
you
but-
could weigh in. Yeah, they're having it's a contest.
Okay.
So I can't wait to see what you come up with.
This is like the Maine Mariners competition all over again. We're back after this. Muffins, like the blueberries,
They did the same thing for the claws also.
Did they?
The red claws, yeah. I
And
was never
Jess-
very happy with red claws.
Jess Yario was like, wasn't she a finalist for one of her suggestions
Oh,
or
was she?
something?
Was she? Oh, I didn't
Someone
know
was
that.
a finalist here for, yeah.
What-
She did
did
Puffin,
Puffins?
yeah.
Then they ended up just going back to the old name they used to have.
Lee, I don't mean to make you feel that, but your thoughts?
Yeah, Rose, $136 a night. Paul is talking about this Airbnb story we just had of the Wienermobile. You could stay inside there in Chicagoland area, not here, but $136 a night.
All right, Mom Mills.
All right, what's today?
Actually, just some cool viewer pics
Of it?
from the stores from yesterday.
Oh, cool. Did you see the Prudential Center in Boston
Yeah.
got hit? Yeah.
They probably get hit a good amount. 'cause
I
think
was
this is one of the
shocked.
tallest- Wait, is it them or the Hancock?
I don't know. Might be Encore now.
Yeah, that's true. Boston developed so much, well, in the Seaport area at least, since I've really last spent much time there.
It's so different.
I've always had an interesting relationship with Boston. I know most Mainers don't like it.
Mhm.
Being from the surrounding towns, I like it and I appreciate all of its history. It's not a place I really desire to live as an adult all that much. I think it's a combination of costing $1.5 million for a condo and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and having somebody want to fight you at Faneuil Hall every night.
Yeah, the aggressiveness.
yeah.
Everyone's harsh.
I'm good with that.
And the driving, you gotta just like be white knuckled, ready to go.
That doesn't bother me, well, that much, I think, but the other parts,
The road designs really bother Clay.
well, they're like old cow paths. That's
Yeah.
why. You know, there's a part you can get off Sterile Drive at some point, and there's like 4 lefts. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
left.
And you have to know which
Yeah,
one you're gonna do
yeah.
ahead of time,
Right, if you're in the wrong
or else
way.
you're burned. Yeah, it's not good. Is this here in Maine?
It is. It was how.
Wow. Crazy clouds.
All right, so some viewer pictures and videos tonight on the Insta.
Cool.
Not just for shirtless
This
pics.
is really cool. Is this, like a time lapse?
Yeah, it's a time lapse, and this is what we call a shelf cloud. So what you're kind of looking at is the rising air that comes into a thunderstorm, and then the turbulent look is the downdrafts and the rain. So there's your rain shaft there in the structure of it, and you can see how people sometimes think they see
Yeah,
tornadoes.
that's
right?
what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just they call those scud clouds, just turbulent pieces of air. A thunderstorm is a very dynamic cloud, right? You have rapidly upward moving air. You've got precipitation in there, ice crystals, everything, and then you have eventually kind of the exhaust of the storm, the downbursts and the downdrafts coming out of the back of it. So the result of that is a ragged looking clouds because there's just a lot going on there. Do we have the other one? Do we have Sean's? Okay, we have this one first. Okay, this is, and this is actually a really long time lapse. Hopefully we can get through it all, but it shows you going from a nice sunny day, and you start to see the development of some of these clouds.
Yeah.
And then a thunderstorm moves in, and when you think it's already in, like here, it looks like, okay, here we go. But it gets darker and darker and darker where the storm actually moves in overhead. So it's just showing you the convective nature of the storm. There we go.
So
and there
mesmerizing.
It really is.
Whoa.
And then straight through into the thunderstorm and the back end anvil there. Oh, and there's some lightning in there. So that was a cool time lapse.
That
and then
was
do
really
we have time
cool.
for Sean's? Sean got all scared. This is Sean Stackhouse. He's one of our reporters, if you don't know her. These are called mammatus clouds. So typically they're presented on the back end of the anvil, the top of the thunderstorm, but occasionally they will be in the lower part of the thunderstorm. And again, it's that turbulent air that you're seeing. But those are pretty cool. You don't see them a ton in New England.
No,
so.
the weather can be so moody.
Yeah, especially yesterday.
News Center Maine at 5:30 starts right now. Bye, guys.